Going on, everybody? Welcome. Hey, thank you so very much. Welcome to the Love Zone with Kevin Nash on this cold Sunday night here in Los Angeles. We got a very, very hot topic for you today. It's a little crazy, As a matter of fact, we have two topics that we're going to be dealing with tonight. So let me give you the business. You can call me now at 310-910-9676, extension 605. You already know what we're talking about, right? All right. This thing has been steaming throughout the week. Let me bring in my very special guest for tonight, Mr. Van Brown. Van Brown, what's up, my man? Welcome to the Love Zone.
Hello. So thank you so much for having me. I am a huge admirer, and I just love what you do and how you do it.
Hey, man, appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. He was on my show before. I had him on KJLH. It was, I think, the week of the KJLH Men's Summit that we put on in September every year. And plus, we had him on the panel at the KJLH Men's Summit as well, and talk about a phenomenal brother who knows his word and who knows the ins and outs of relationship. Now, I have to say this. Now, Van and I, we talk. We talk like brothers. Like, we talk. This radio stuff, yeah. I mean, he knows my perspective on relationship somewhat, my views as it relates to the Bible and this and that. And I have to say this from the top. That we don't necessarily agree on certain things. All right, he's more right and I'm more left. He's more to the right and I'm a little bit to the left, but he's still my brother. And then he always listens to me, but I see in his eyes he's like, I want to debate this brother so badly. I want to debate this brother. Kevin, you're wrong. I know my views can be somewhat unorthodox, but nonetheless, I've been here for almost 50 years, and I think with that time, and I've figured some things out when it comes to relationship.
Now, one thing, I am a student of learning, so even though it may not sound right, but one thing I will always do, I will always listen, I will always investigate, I will always make sure will never shut myself off to anything.
Right.
And particularly with someone like you that is so filled with so much wisdom.
Hey, listen, so let's go ahead and get into the real nitty-gritty because people are calling in already. Welcome to the program. So all my folk that's tuned in on Twitter, on Periscope, on Facebook, we're live, everybody. Welcome to the Love Zone. So this question was presented to me, right, to ask the audience. And hold on, they put all these phones on hold. So it's ringing off the chain. Hold on, please. Hold on. But I always thought about this concept. I thought about this idea, when it comes to how we enter into a marriage. All right.
Right.
And I want all the people who know the Bible, who think they know the Bible, to listen in tonight. And please call in because all I'm getting is, well, what does the Bible say? What does the Bible say? Tonight's topic is this. The law requires every issued license to be renewed at some point, except for a marriage license.
Mm-hmm.
The question is how many people would remain married if they had that option to renew it or let it expire?
Wow.
Van, what's your take on it?
That is such a powerful, powerful, powerful question. Simply because when you think about it, they're more concerned with you being on their streets rather than in your community. They're more concerned about you being on the streets, having your driver's license, business license, and all these things, versus the most important thing, which is the contractual agreement in terms of being a suitable adult responsible to be in someone else's care. I love the concept of this simply because, I mean, as high as the divorce rate is now, I think if this thing was institutionalized, I mean, it would skyrocket through the roof. Simply because we have basically abandoned the concept of a giving relationship, and we've transitioned into a consumer one. And because we've transitioned into a consumer one, everything is quick, microwave, ready, available. So when time to renew the license, man, people will let that thing expire like it's nobody's business. Simply because we want everything fast. We don't want to work for anything. And if it requires a lot of work, we are willing to abandon ship and get something new. We want the new shiny thing, but we don't know how to value the richness that's right in front of us.
You brought up the divorce rate. I was reading these stats earlier. It says if you are a married American, your marriage is between 40 and 50% likely to end in divorce. After
Wow.
peaking at 50% in the 1980s, the national divorce rate has dropped steadily. But in the public's mind, that outdated half of all marriages figures still sticks and scares. In other words, the reason why there has been a drop in the divorce rate because people are no longer getting married anymore.
Mm,
Understand what I'm saying? But
right.
it says if you are married in the States, it is
Mhm.
between 40 and 50% likely to end in divorce. The average marriage lasts in the UK. It says currently relationships last about 17 years.
Wow.
He says while the average British marriage, which ends in divorce, lasts just 11 years and 6 months.
Mm.
Interesting, interesting. But what about marriage? I mean, I talked about this a couple of weeks ago about how to enter into a marriage, right?
Right.
And the only good example that I have of marriage in the
Mm.
Bible, God talked about how although he was a husband unto Israel, right? This is in
Right.
Jeremiah
Mhm.
chapter 30. He said, although I
Right.
was a husband unto Israel, she continued not in my covenant. And when you go
Mhm.
back to the covenant that God made with Israel, right?
Mhm.
The covenant that he made with Israel didn't look like the covenant he made with Moses, didn't look like the covenant he made with Adam.
Right.
My point is this. It's almost as if when we enter into these agreements or these covenants with a woman or a man, we call
Right.
marriage, right?
Mhm.
We always use some sort of recycled vows and we try to
Mhm.
live up to the vows or the promises that we didn't even create. Like, I want to
Wow.
know where this whole thing came from, where till death do we part. You know what I mean? Till death do we
Right.
part. You know, it's like they pulled this promise, this
Right.
agreement out of a crackerjack box.
Mhm.
You know, and I'm still searching, looking for some sort of scriptural evidence as to how
Where it
we
says that.
enter into a marriage like that and say till death. Because you see a lot of people,
Mhm.
50% of marriages who've said that, right, have lied
Mhm.
and have
Right.
not kept their promise.
Right.
And then you're going to go to the courts, right, to get a divorce. You're not going to go back to God and ask him
Mm.
if it's okay. But we
Right. Right. Right.
included God in this mess that we created.
Right.
I don't know if I'm making any sense at all.
So you're
So,
making all the
so,
sense in the world.
so this is why it's simple to me. So if we came up with this whole concept as to
Right.
how we enter into a marriage, right? And we
Hmm.
included God in the agreement that we came up with, and we expect
Right.
God to say, "Okay, God, okay, I'm a promise before you, and I'm a promise before my spouse that this is what I'm
Right.
going to do." But we
Right.
never take time out to think about, wow, I'm going to be so very careful what to promise to God. I'm going to be careful
Of
with that.
course. Right.
And I think there's a
Because
scripture that even says too that we're not even supposed to vow, we're not even supposed to promise to God or swear before God.
right. Yeah. So it's a very serious. I mean, it's so cavalier the way we do this thing called marriage, simply because number one, we don't have the information and the principles. In order for something to work, we basically have to know the principles and the system of how it was first founded and why it was founded.
Mm,
We are getting married for all the wrong reasons because we're lonely and we feel like this is a certain period of time in my life. I need to be attached to someone. I want children now, or I want to attach myself to you because you are a symbol of status, or you cure my loneliness. So we're getting attached to someone for all the wrong reasons when the only reason we're really supposed to be merged lives with someone is simply to fulfill God's promises in the earth.
hmm.
But when the man doesn't know his purpose in the earth, he basically is asking for a woman hand prematurely. And
Interesting.
she comes to help, but he's not doing anything other than gathering up dead things.
Well,
So so this whole thing, the relationship looks good. They have shiny cars and they have a nice home, beautiful kids.
hmm,
But their whole relationship basically is not and void simply because they're not fulfilling the promises on why they were meant to be together.
good point. Good point. Let's take a call right quick. Hello, welcome to the Love Zone. Who's this? Caller, you there? Go ahead, caller. Okay, I'm going to go to the next. All right, caller, you there? Caller, you there? Okay. I'm not sure what's going on. But you make a very interesting point where, but you can't blame the man. You can't blame the man for that, right?
Mm.
And that's what you just did.
It's not blame. It's information. We both have to know. It's not blame. It's an evolving of the human being spirit. A lot of us, in particularly as men, as you know, particularly within the African community, a lot of us were without fathers, and so we never got to see that example of that father living in his full promise.
Hmm.
And because of that, we have adopted this, the culture and whatever culture is popular at that time, we've adopted their expression on what it is of manhood. And so this is all we have known, and we've never got the full information of what it means to be a man, what it means to be responsible, what it means to be vision driven, to have
Right.
a purpose.
You're absolutely
All of
right
these
about it.
things, it's nobody's fault, but it's simply a lack of awareness. And where are the people that were responsible for us to give us that awareness?
You're absolutely right. And you can't attach that lack of awareness to gender. I think it
Right,
applies across the board. So both men
right,
and women.
right.
Um, let's take a call right quick. Hold on a sec. Hold on. Caller, you there? Hello, caller.
Hello?
Yeah, what's your name? Hello,
Can you
what's
hear
your
me?
name? I can hear you loud and clear. Can you hear me? Caller.
Can you hear me?
Yes. What's your comment? What's your comment? Go ahead. We can hear you. What's your comment? Yes, you're on. What's your comment? Go ahead.
I haven't been listening to the show, but I read about the two comments in regards to marriage and expiration dates, and so I wanted to comment about that.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't
Wonderful.
know
Go
if
ahead.
it's on point with what you're talking about right now.
Yeah, we're taking your comment, so just go ahead with your comment.
So my comment about marriage dates.
Yes, about marriage. Yes, ma'am, you are. Go ahead. About marriage.
Yeah, so online you said, most licenses have a 2-year expiration date, but marriage licenses, they don't have it. I think that the license with marriage, it's a commitment with God. And so there's no expiration on that. But I think it's comical, to revisit, your love. God says, turn the other cheek. God says to be forgiving, have grace, have favor. And you have to have that in your marriage. And we don't sign our driver's license in front of a community. We don't sign any license in front of friends and family. But we do sign our commitment in the marriage in front of others that we love and care about. So it's on a different level.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Yeah, appreciate your phone call. And let's go back to how we include God in the marriage, right?
Right.
How can I put this? Let me ask you this. Because you were talking about being unaware of the purpose of a marriage, right?
Right.
And God's original plan, God's original intention for marriage,
Right.
right? The example that we have in the Bible is in Genesis chapter 2.
Right.
When God says it's not good for man to be alone. Well,
Right.
prior to that, he had given man a purpose.
Of course.
I am creating you for this specific purpose, to be here on
Right.
earth. This is your domain. I want you to be fruitful. I want you to multiply. I want you to subdue it. I want you to own it. Right? This is yours. As a matter of fact, I'm going to create animals, but I want you to name these animals, okay? Adam,
Right.
because I'm leaving you in charge.
Right.
Then he says it's not good for man to be alone, right? That he was going to create a suitable helpmate. Now keep in mind that God was still talking about, or what he had in mind was furthering that purpose. Like, how can I get this purpose moving faster? He can't do it by himself, right? So he created a suitable helpmate.
Right.
Helpmeet, right? Which was the woman.
Right.
I don't believe that man has forgotten his purpose or his calling or what he's supposed to do on earth. But I do believe that things have shifted where it's been the other way around, where the man has become the helpmate as opposed to the woman being the helpmate. That's why in Scripture says, he who findeth a wife findeth a good thing and is blessed beyond measure. Why? Because he found, in other words, a piece of paper or a ring doesn't make a woman a wife. Nothing magical happens.
Right.
The angels are not shouting in heaven saying, oh my God, here's another one. I just saw their marriage license. It's proven that they're married, right?
Right.
Nothing magical takes place, and there's no biblical, scriptural evidence for that ring at all and dropping one knee, right? But seem like the whole purpose now of man and woman getting together so that they can throw this fancy feast
Yeah, we Cinderellarize it. Is what I say.
You know, and I will
we
go even further. That can be a bit controversial. What I'm going to say is this: that God. All right, I'm gonna leave it out. Well, the title of the book that I'm working on is called "Don't Marry for Love." He never mentioned one thing about that.
but
Love that
here's
man.
yeah, but here's one
Love
thing
that.
with I think a lot of I think it's very hard to digest too, is because we if you go to Genesis, when you look at it says God when it says after Adam got all of his instructions, and then it says God brought Eve to Adam.
Uh huh.
We're thinking that God is giving him a wife, but that's not correct because in Hebrew, brought simply means to display. Display, so God was simply displaying Eve around Adam. And Adam actually created the institution of marriage because Adam said, "This is bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. For this reason, I shall leave my mother and father and cleave to this wife." God never gave him a wife. God displayed her. But because Adam was so complete and he knew he needed someone to further complete the task on earth, he instinctively knew that this was someone he needed in order to fulfill the promises of God. So it was a purpose and an intention rather than the whole Cinderella thing, in my assessment.
Hmm. Someone said something very interesting on social media. I got to read this. It says, "Wow, Kevin Nash, never thought about this. Interesting conversation indeed. To take it a step further, most licenses require mandatory matriculation on the subject matter, evidenced by classes and testing. Should this be required before entering into a marriage?" Love the question. Oh, wow. Wow. Hey, listen, man. Listen, that takes it to a whole new level. Yes. Would I
I
recommend
agree.
classes before jumping the broom?
Yeah,
Would I, if I was president or the governor, to
right.
try to make it mandatory that you know exactly what you're getting into before you get
Right,
into it, before you
right.
jump the broom? Absolutely. Very good point.
Very good point.
Take it to a whole new level. All right, let's go back to the phone lines right now. Let's see. Hello, anybody there? Okay, they hung up. All right, so the phone number again. Sorry I haven't had a chance to answer all the phone calls tonight. 310 910 9676. Choose extension 605 to get through. So no deal for you, right? So you wouldn't have that in your covenant, in your agreement. A
To what?
clause to opt out.
No, I mean because I mean you can anytime you want. But the goal is we have to understand what the goal is. And if the goal is to give, that's what marriage is about. It's about giving, not investing.
See, but we hear that
We're
a lot, Van, about what's the purpose of marriage, and everybody has their own idea of what it
right.
should be. Caller, you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Go ahead and make your comment.
Mm.
Yes. And I'm really glad. Thank you for this topic, Kevin and Dan. Really, I think you said something really key about, kind of the roles reversal when I think that it looks like it and it appears like that, but I feel like biblically as a woman of God, you know, I have a lot of girlfriends that are waiting for a knight in shining armor, yet there's plenty of men of God that are character building and are forgetting their purpose. So when you guys are talking, I'm listening to, like, now maybe the woman makes more money than the man, or maybe she has been independent for a number of years, but yet the family's out of balance until we come back into the purpose of God's marriage, of why he's bringing husband and wife together. And it's still not good for a man to be alone, and it's even not good for a woman to be alone. So in understanding purpose, what are we looking for in purpose? And what are we looking for in the character of a person? That if we're looking for a person of God, the character, is it the character or status that people are looking for? And are we really looking at purpose? If you could just define those three and how they work together when looking for someone, because I believe that character is so important, and most people that are in Christ are not quite developing the character or the love of God to understand if you truly have love, you have something to give, not what you do for me and make me feel good, meet my need. It's not about that. For we were supposed to be servants to one another and help. And you guys could both speak to that, especially you, Van. I know this is the topic for both of you men.
Thank you.
Van, go ahead.
Oh yeah, you're so correct. Simply because we have kind of morphed into a society of symbols and logos. We want everything to look good, but we're missing the key element, which is, what is my purpose? Why am I here? And more importantly, your character protects your purpose and your gift. So we want the gift because the gift draws attention to us, but we're not working on the character in order to sustain the gift. See, my character, if my character is not fully intact and not fully functioning in the spirit and the essence of God, then I'm going to draw away from, and it's going to take away from my gift, because once you see the malfunctioning of me, you're no longer going to believe the words that are coming out of my mouth. So I will argue character, we should focus on that even more. What will it take? I'm not willing to be sold out. Am I intentional about my giving, or this is masquerading as something beyond what I'm really wanting to give? What is my true intention in merging lives with this person? Is it simply because I know who I am? I know what God has given me. I've seen the vision of where I'm going, and now I need that helpmate in order to fulfill the purposes of God? Or this is simply another come to cure my loneliness? And self-love will expose all of that. If you fall in love with self and you can spend time with yourself, loving God, think about it. There was nowhere in the Bible that suggests that Adam needed someone. He was so busy fulfilling the promises of God, God literally had to interrupt him to display Eve. He was full of purpose, in purpose.
Hello?
Yeah, so, caller, go ahead. Caller, you there? Caller, what's your comment? Go ahead. Caller, what's your comment? Go ahead. Caller, you there? Go ahead. Okay, she's just saying hello. Just saying hello.
Right.
Hey, so Van, so
Yeah.
let's make some sense of this thing, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Because hearing the last caller and hearing you, you're not saying that marriage is only for purpose-driven people. Like, what if you want to be married because you don't want to be lonely? What if you want to be married because you want companionship?
Right.
Is it okay to get married for those reasons? Or do you have to have this God-given purpose? Like, oh, wow, we know that Adam had a whole lot of work to do. God gave him
Right.
specific instructions on what to
Right.
do on earth, right?
Right.
And that mission could not be accomplished by himself. He needed a woman.
Right.
He needed Eve.
Right.
It would be impossible for him to be fruitful and multiply and subdue the earth by himself. He couldn't do that by himself.
Right.
So you're saying that marriages that will last,
Mm-hmm.
if you have no other purpose on earth other than to breathe, other than to sleep and to eat, you need not be married. Is that what you guys are saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the institution of it was created for that purpose. But even Paul says, for those of you that struggle with lust, it is that you get ready to fall into sin. So we all know that even Paul encourages marriages for not failing to succumb to the sins of the world. But what I'm saying, in Genesis, which was recorded as the first marriage on record, the reason for this institution simply was because the woman is called the helpmate. And if we're going to merge lives together, there's something that I'm supposed to be doing. Otherwise, she wouldn't be called helpmate. She would just be random. But if she's come to help, it means that there's something that we're doing. And I'm not suggesting, I'm saying according to the first marriage that was introduced. But later on, you see Paul and others saying it is better to be married than to burn with that desire.
Right. Okay.
It's it's a lot. It depends on what are you following? What is this human being following? Do you believe in the tenets and what it says biblically, scripturally? People get married for all sorts of reasons. There are people who don't believe in the Bible. There are people who are atheists. And I'm not suggesting that this one concept is for all mankind simply because not everyone believes in this. But if we're speaking biblically, this was the first marriage that was instituted. And God specifically said, this is why.
Right.
Yeah.
The point that I was trying to make earlier, when it comes to the understanding of what God's intention is and was in the book of Genesis, and even when it comes to marriages, right? He described his relationship with Israel like a marriage. He says, although I was a husband unto you, right? You continue not in my covenant, but I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. And it's not going to look like the one I've created before.
Right.
My point is this. So, what if marriage is just that what is agreed upon in the covenant, in the agreement? So if I remove the till death do we part,
right?
If I remove, okay, I'm going to be with you forever.
Right.
Here is what I'm agreeing to do.
Right.
And I am going to write it out and spell it out in the covenant, in the agreement. That should be a marriage.
Right.
So if I'm saying, hey, look, I'm going to be with you for 3 years and that's it. And I'm going to make this commitment. I'm going to present this covenant before God. I'm going to promise you and I'm going to promise God. Now, who's to say that's not what a marriage is? Because think about it. God was able to spell out the details of the agreement. He said, this is our covenant.
Right.
I am not going to make the same covenant because you continue not in my covenant.
Right.
This is going to be a completely different covenant.
Right.
It's a new marriage between me and you. I'm going to toss the old agreement out the door. Right? Mm-hmm. So moving forward, why do we still continue to recite the same vows if we know in our heart of hearts that we don't have enough inside of us to pay that? Like if I want a house, I'm like, okay, well, boom, that house is $2 million. Well, I don't have enough money. I'm not making enough money to afford a $2 million house. And you think the bank is going to give me the loan for that? Right. Even though I could put my signature on it. And with my mouth, I'm saying, hey, look, okay, here's the agreement. We got a contract. Okay, I'm going to pay it. I know I can't pay it. So people are entering into marriages knowing that they can't even live up to their promise. Like, I can't. I can't. Because they think something magical will happen, at the feast. You know what I mean?
No, I totally.
At the wedding, put the ring on. Something magical is going to happen. Like, oh, all of a sudden, I'm a different man. I'm a different woman. No,
I totally understand what you're saying.
Some people don't need to do that at all.
That's what I'm saying. That's what God literally gave us, something that is so beautiful that what we're not. He gave us the freedom of a will. and you get to choose what you want. So you saying the 3-year thing, that's your choice. And as long as there's two people that entered into agreement with
Okay.
that, then that's your choice.
And
you
you
know,
said,
that's
and God will honor that, right?
right.
Because that's
That's
the
your
promise I
choice.
made.
But then what you got to, that's your choice.
And even if I put an option, say, hey, look, we can start campaigning in
Right.
year 2 whether or not we're gonna stay together or not. You know what I mean? Year 2, we can start. Hey, look, put up your flags, put up your banners and everything. I love Kevin. I love Kevin. Da, da, da.
But
You might win. You might win a second term.
what we got to ask ourselves is, first, before we entered into this contract, we got to ask ourselves, what is love? If I'm saying that I love you and we're entering into this agreement for 3 years, we first have to define what is love.
No, you
Shouldn't that
don't.
be? No?
I'm gonna let you
Because
say it. But like I said, we're gonna disagree on some things. I don't believe
no,
it.
yeah,
I don't
let's
believe
no,
it.
let's go
I don't
there.
believe love has anything to do with it whatsoever.
No, what I'm saying is love meaning not love in the fairy tale concept that humankind has come to fall in love with. I'm talking about organically being me.
Yeah, but
See,
two people who love each other still divorce.
right.
Two people who still love each other.
And you,
Like, I
and you know
love
what
him. I
broke
love
them up?
her.
Right, but you know what broke them up?
I know what broke them up. Was
It's
their
the
concept.
ignorance of wisdom broke them up. The ignorance of wisdom, because we love the idea of falling in love and growing old with someone. But we've never, when was the last book we read on communication, how to deal with people and their emotions and the idiosyncrasies of being at the fit of your age, but still could speak to someone in love and tenderness? I guarantee you, there were at least 20 or 30% of marriages that were ending in divorce. And as they were signing the paper, they still loved each other. But what kept them signing the paper is simply because they didn't have the words and the courage to go beyond their hurt. And that's all it is. We don't know how to speak with love and tenderness beyond our hurt. Because anytime you're in close proximity together, the chances of you offending each other increases. And when we learn how to manage our emotions and talk with wisdom rather than feelings, then this will actually give ourselves a stability buffer in order to protect those things. But we have to get wisdom on how to communicate to each other, because we come from two different histories, family dynamics on how to love and how they do their problem solving. So if she believes that this way is right, but you keep coming with your perspective, then automatically it's going to cause division. But if I study her, if she studies him, the Bible says be wise as a serpent, meaning a snake will sometimes study its prey for 6 to 8 hours before it attacks. So what we need to do is, before we even start talking about love, we have to study the human being. What do they need? What are their flaws? What are the moments where they need help the most?
Right.
And study what they would need tomorrow and give it to them today.
Wow. That's awesome.
All of
Man,
this,
if
all
only they were made like that these days in this culture. I mean, that's beautiful. That reminds me so much of my parents. You know, they were married for
Right.
over 60 years. You know,
Wow.
but you know, it's a fact that we are living in the last days. You know, and Scripture even tells us, you know, in the last days, people, their love for each other will grow cold towards each other. You know, and this is what we're experiencing today. All right, great conversation. I think we can go longer, but we have to wrap things up. We went 10 minutes past the allotted time, so it's time to transition into our next topic. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. A lot of comments are coming through on Facebook. I'm checking it out. Appreciate that. So Van, our next topic of discussion. I received this this meme on my timeline about maybe 3 weeks ago, and it really caught my attention. How to date an entrepreneur. How to date an entrepreneur, someone who's focused on their dream. And if you are an entrepreneur, that means that you're very, very passionate about what you do. You know, you're giving more than 100%. You're giving 500%. You're working not 24 hours a day, but you're working 48 hours in one day, and don't have a whole lot of time to invest in dating or at least have a mate, right?
Right.
So, do you have any tips at all? People who are very, very busy trying to balance their passion, their dream, their business,
Right.
and also trying to maintain and sustain a relationship at the same time, you know. And by
Right.
doing that, you know, your interests can be divided and some things
Right.
can seep through the cracks, like your
Yeah.
relationship,
Of
and
course.
can lead to divorce, like or he's a
Mhm.
workaholic or she's a workaholic.
Right.
She's never home. She's
Right.
never around. She gives more
Right.
time and attention and focus, you know, to her job, to her business, and not
Right.
me.
Yeah. Once again, it goes back to a lot of times when you see people who are driven and their sole focus is about advancing the entrepreneurship and making sure that they set these things. It's simply because sometimes they've seen that through their parents or someone that they have admired, and they believe that this is the best way to go. And if your intention is on merging lives with this human being, I think as human nature, what we tend to do a lot, because we want to feel special that we're the most significant person on earth,
Mm-hmm.
we would try to draw them away from what they love and almost make them feel guilty and resentful for doing what they love. But the beauty about it, if you truly care about this person and want that relationship, then what you can do is find ways to enhance what they're doing in their business. Study them. The hours of the morning, who are their most favorite mentors, and send them YouTube teachings on how to get better in this particular skill. See, once you have shown that person that you are so in love with what they're doing, they're going to see the importance of having you around. But if you're simply trying to flip the script and say, no, don't pay attention to that, pay attention to me. If you truly, truly love them, then you have to fall not in love with what they're doing, but you have to love what they're doing also, because this is the reflection of them. And slowly but literally, they will come around and set a day or 2 days, one week, that, okay, I am 100% in agreement that you should fully go after the thing. But can Friday be our night? A dinner, a movie? Can Saturday be our night? It's all about baby steps. You know, nothing comes into fruition, nothing changes overnight, but it's just subtle little steps. So, hey, I know you're busy. I know this is what you're doing. I know where you're going. I loved it. I love the fact that you're driven. But can't we have Friday? And you'll be amazed to see the changes. It's all about a little give and take, a little give and take. But what is your agenda? Do you truly, truly want to assist this person in what they love, or you want to remove them from it?
And I guess it would be some questions they would have to ask themselves too, especially if they're planning on dating or marrying an entrepreneur. Is that
Right.
Can I be that? Can I be of help? You know,
Right.
can I be that helpmate? You know, be it
Of
a male
course.
or a female. I mean, a male can be a helpmate as well. You know,
Of course.
but how could I help enhance? You know, and I think, and I tell folk all the time, is that when you get with someone, you have to understand that God has given them purpose. He has
Right.
given them something to do on earth,
Right.
you know, and if all you can do is hinder that person from
Right.
their purpose that God has given them, you
They're
know,
going to resent you.
not only are they going to resent you, they're going to get rid of you. You're done. There's no way, no how you can compete
Right.
with a God-given purpose.
Yeah.
You know,
No
and a
way. I'll
man
give
and a
you
man and a
purpose.
woman who knows their purpose on earth, and if
Right.
they meet a man or a woman, if they're not about it, no, they're gonna
Right.
look the other way.
Of course, I'll give you a perfect example. I mean, my lady, I'm writing this book and it's almost done, thank God. In a month, I should have the physical copy. But I mean, she's on me more fulfilling, filling into the physical copies than I am, because she believes so wholeheartedly in me, and it's very refreshing, and it's
I bet it
very
is.
humbling
Yeah.
to have someone who is in love with your passion the way you are. Even with the nonprofit, you know, she extends herself, her finances, her resources. She goes above and beyond because she sees the vision
Mm.
of where I'm going, and she loves it. And so she's not taking me away from it. She's saying, let's do this together. This could be a form of dating as we go. When we go to the Bahamas and we're serving, it's a form
Mm.
of dating. We're actually doing this together.
Wow.
You know, people have to take out of their mind, what is the concept of spending time together? Is it just me adorize? Is it just me adoring you and telling you how amazing you are? Or is it us doing this thing called life together and serving others? There's nothing more beautiful when you give something that they vitally need. I mean, there are kids in these communities that haven't eaten in like 2 or 3 days.
Mm.
And we just show up with hot dogs thinking that's, okay, it's a hot dog. But man, when you see their eyes light up and they're on the line like 3 and 4 times, it's a thing of beauty, you know?
Yeah, you're right. So the
Yeah.
question was this: how to date an entrepreneur? And I have to go back to, that scripture where, it says, "He who findeth a wife findeth a good thing, and he's blessed beyond measure."
Yes.
The reason why he's blessed beyond measure because he found. See, a ring doesn't make a wife at all, but the Bible's talking
Right.
about the nature and the characteristics of that woman. You get what I'm
Right.
saying? So
Hmm.
so nothing magical happens when the ring is there. You don't just become a wife. Yeah, you become a wife on paper, and that's
Right.
basically it. But you
Please
know,
keep saying that, Kevin. Please, people need to understand this
right?
because they really believe something changes at the altar. They
Nothing.
really believe that.
Nothing happens.
And the same problems you had with this human being before is the same problems you're going to have after. So if you can't marry the person before and you're dreaming about them changing, then you should never get married.
Mm.
Simply because that same attitude is going to come home with you after you get them out of that beautiful dress or nice tuxedo. Nothing changes.
Van, you gotta give him at least 30
Absolutely.
days. Maybe after 30 days, right? All right, 15. 15. 15 days. Back to the norm. Back to the norm. Hey, listen, we're out of time. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the podcast, the Love Zone podcast. I so appreciate your company. Van, I know you got a book that's coming out that you're working on, and plus we're working on some seminars together that we're going to be bringing to you
Yes.
guys very, very soon. So tell them about your book, man.
Yeah, the book is called Intentional Love versus Love Symptoms, simply because, I've um my parents' version of love and past lovers. And I noticed that every time I went out into the world trying to merge relationships with someone, I constantly heard the same criticism. And I wanted to get back to what is the true meaning of love and how is it supposed to be given. I think the world is basically going on love symptoms: roses, flowers, chocolates, fancy dates. We think that's love, but that's just romanticism. And love as its core is simply I I am so filled up with love that I organically give it to you with no um, regard from an investment or a return. And when we give like that, then automatically it transforms the person and causes them to want to reciprocate that. But it's not encouraged or manipulated to do so. I am love. So God is love. Because He is love, He just organically gives it. And I think that's what we have to fall back in love, just being organically ourselves and not have to create this energy in order to be loving and giving. Like Kevin, you're actually that. Like when I meet you and when people meet you, you're just organically a giver. You're a giving human being. Your whole intent is to enlighten, to inform. That's an organic giver. You're not concerned about the reciprocity of it. And once we adopt that philosophy and not to scheme and connive and see what we could get back, I think we'll free a lot of our brothers and sisters.
I think you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. All right, so we got to wrap things up, man. Where can they find you, man? On social media, if you got a website where they can pre-order
Yeah,
your book.
right. My website is being built right now, almost done. But you can find me, Mr. Van Brown, on Instagram and Van Brown on Facebook. And like I said, we'll be doing a lot of joint seminars together. I have a lot of great things in store for. I'm just so in love with this topic because I've failed miserably because of ignorance and lack of wisdom. I've seen my parents, basically were roommates, with there was no love, there was no tenderness. And even as a little child, it literally planted a seed saying, wow, I knew something was different, even though, I hadn't seen another marriage. I just knew something was different. And so this really inspires me to get information out so people can make their own decisions about how to love and how to give it. But I just want to be of service. I know that this is the reason I'm here on the earth, is to love and to give vital information. And as I know truth, and as things change, I will come with the truth and say, this was wrong. I'm always willing to learn and be better. But this is the truth as I know it so far. And as things change, so will I. Yeah.
Right. I only gave him a light version of my perspective tonight. But Van and I doing private conversations. Hey, all right.
No, I love it though. I love it, because I don't want someone that agrees with me.
Right, right.
Yeah, I want to be challenged.
Well, cool. Hey, listen, everybody. Thank you so much. Make sure you follow me, Twitter and Instagram at Radio Free Kevin. We'll be posting this on Instagram Tuesday at Radio Free Kevin, Radio Free Kevin. Plus, I'll check you out live on the radio every night, Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. until midnight. And I love you guys so much, and I'll see you when I look at you. Hey, Van, thank you, man. Appreciate you, my brother.
Thank you.
All right,
thank you. See you later. Bye.